I'm Hedrick L. Alcantara, Publicity Committee of Todo Registrado. We launched a Facebook page on May 18, 2021 with the aim of garnering engagement within the pool of our Facebook friends. Unfortunately, as of June 23, we have reached 5,768 people on Facebook, 1,050 post engagements, while 256 netizens liked and followed our page. Since it was launched, the page were able to promote the CIASAT PSC 1 Voters Education webinar prior to the day of the event on June 23. We have also devised posts that are informative and helpful tools for first-time voters, as well as the proponents' manifestos that hooked our target audience for the webinar. The publicity of Todo Registrado indeed reached a small-scale number of people, but it sure hits our humble objectives for the Voters Education Program in the first 3 weeks of our implementation. Thank you.
On the 30th of May 2021, the group decided to share or repost the recorded event of the Broadcast Journalism Program Council entitled Bata Bata Boboto Ka Ba? A youth voting webinar on Todo Registrado's Facebook page as one of its implemented activities. The said event yearns to educate the De La Salle University Dasmariñas undergraduate students on how to become a part of social change this upcoming 2022 presidential election. The Broadcast Journalism Program Council invited experts and advocates to talk about students' capacity to help build an empowered and youth-led nation. The group believes that the objectives of the Program Council's webinar are relevant to Todo Registrado's objectives as well, since both parties mutually pursue to educate the registered and unregistered Filipino voters on their right to vote and democracy. Fortunately, by sharing the Program Council's webinar, the group have not encountered any major problems.
In keeping with the group's goals, the second thing we did was a post on our Facebook page detailing the steps for registering for the 2022 elections. It had the steps for registration, who could register, where to register, and the necessary requirements for application. The post itself reached 3,240 people and had 416 engagements with 56 reactions and 55 shares. Enrique, as part of the group's publicity committee, did the graphics, and Earl from the research committee provided the information. When the post was published, everyone in the group was encouraged to share the post so we could reach more people, which is how we achieved the post's analytics. We had no major problems with the publication, and it did reach many people. I hope that these people that we've reached learned from our post and were encouraged to register for the 2022 elections.
I'm sure that not everyone who saw our advocacy were that interested, but I'm also sure that there are people who were moved by this advocacy. Knowing that we are not just merely finishing an academic requirement, but actually taking a step towards change makes all the ounce of time and effort spent worth it.
Our third Facebook post was on what we thought the standards for the future leaders of our nation should be. Hedrick made a Google form where we collected information for the publication. In the form, the group's members were asked to, among other things, enumerate what qualities they would like to see in future politicians. 3 of these responses from me, Earl, and Alessandra were chosen. Enrique once more did the design and the graphics. As of today, the post has reached 1,593 people. It's had 142 engagements, 23 reactions, and 15 shares. Voting wisely is just as important as registering for the 2022 elections. To paraphrase what Sir Robin said in our webinar, if we have high standards for electing our student leaders, then we should have higher standards for those who are going to lead our country. I hope that the people who saw our post were inspired to value their vote even more and think wisely about who they're going to vote in the coming election.
A few days before the webinar began, everyone was busy. The technical staff were trying out technical stuff. Some of our group mates were putting the finishing touches to the design and execution of the program, and of course, us hosts were practicing our scripts. We were able to garner a lot of audience from our Facebook posts, and we were all excited in inviting our friends and other people to the webinar. Our dry runs were normal, and we get to polish the transitions of the program. The day of the program came, and it was a mixed feeling of excitement and a bit of fear. As a first-time host for this kind of event, I wouldn't be telling the truth if I say that it was easy. However, being mentored by some of my blockmates, there was a boost of confidence knowing that you're not in it alone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Siyasat, Political Science 1-2 Voters Education Webinar.
We've started the program by instructing the rules for the participants.
First, if you are a Zoom participant, kindly change your nickname following this format.
It was followed by prayer, the national anthem, and the opening remarks.
Thank you for taking an interest in our advocacy on voters registration.
We then introduced our speakers, and the program seemed to gain momentum.
Without further ado, let us all now welcome our first speaker, Stevie Ann for call.
Okay, register as early as you can so you can vote in the upcoming election.
We've prepared an intermission to have some light amusement, and then we proceeded to the next speaker.
Let us give a round of applause for our next speaker, Mr. Carlo Robin Reyes.
Now, when you vote for that person, you are voting for yourself. Because the elections is not about the candidates, it's about us, the people.
The question and answer portion was like the main affair of the program, and the answers of our respective speakers were very moving. There were some mistakes like the showing of certificates, and I personally forgot to say to the audience that as much as we want to accommodate their questions, we have no time remaining. However, I personally think that the overall program is encouraging, and it makes the audience think for themselves and act accordingly.
From the setting up of Todo Registrado's Facebook page to the implementation of the culminating activity, the group has definitely exceeded expectations despite the grueling challenges brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. Recognizing the importance of proactivity is simply the key takeaway from the efficient implementation of Todo Registrado's activities. If we are to neglect the importance of proactivity, problems may arise and cause devastating effects to the implementation of the activities. Just to name a few of the proactive maneuvers that were executed, the group acknowledged the status of each member's internet connection, scheduled and adjourned meetings due to justifiable reasons, and established the group's aesthetic standards in order to refrain from creating subpar publication material. These maneuvers were not only huge contributions to the development of Todo Registrado, but these also served as general reminders on how to efficiently implement activities for the betterment of the society.